Yeah, I love that, and I'd like to hear more specifics about how you do it. But let me just go back to that one thing you said, so I could get more specific on when you say you're proud of the fact that one thing you've been able to accomplish in your journey is that you generally go through life without too much fear. And so, what is your practice, your work, or your actual what you do to deal with that when a fear does come up that something could be wrong with your son, or you feel ill, like you're going down the cancer you're googling something, thinking that you had, when I thought I had like seven ailments at once, but it was all just
Actually,
anxiety.
a lot of it is for me and is just to try and really pay attention to what I'm feeling because I know there's and it's this has been something that I've had to like work on and cultivate, but I can tell now at my very advanced age, um, I can feel like, am I having a gut reaction to something that is like my body is trying to tell me something is wrong here because I should listen to that. If I walk into a space and I'm instantly uncomfortable in that space in a way that I normally am not, that's usually like I should pay attention to that. Something is off. There's,
Mm.
I should be aware and take a little bit of extra precaution in some way. I think that paying close attention to that is good. However, there's another, I certainly do have anxiety. I this past week had like a sustained 2-day anxiety attack. And it was fascinating at this point because it was a heightened physical sense of like terror. And I had to sit with it for a while. And I kept going over like, what is sparking this? What am I feeling? And I kept going over everything that could be wrong and like just crossing them off the list. Like, no, these it's okay. Like maybe these things aren't great in the moment, but this is not dire. None of this is dire. You are having some sort of reaction that is irrational and that is triggered by something, who knows what, but it is not real. It's like you're under attack from imaginary demons and you know they're not real and you just need to weather this basically. And it was hard. But ultimately what I needed to do was say a lot of it out loud to other people. Like I
Uh-huh.
needed to find someone to reach out
Sure.
to and
Sure.
talk to, and then I needed sleep. Like for me, I could recognize it was brought on by the fact that I had run myself into like a ditch and was so exhausted that I could tell I was not having normal reactions to things. But I had to be at this stage in my life, having gone through it for decades and decades, to recognize, to be able to say, "Here's what's going on with me." I couldn't have done that at 19. I wouldn't have known. I would have just been in a state of really heightened fear.
That's phenomenal that I mean, I call that mindfulness, sorry, but you're in the moment, you realize that you're feeling and thinking a thing, and then you can take the next step to use different resources. You suggested you diagnosed that there was a sleep issue. You talked out loud to people who you trusted, I would imagine. And but do you think you could teach that to 19-year-old self, your 19-year-old self, or my daughter who's
Yeah, I
17?
do.
You
I
do.
do. I mean, because I
What would
think
you
that
tell a young person or someone who doesn't quite understand what you're talking about, or it hasn't been able to do what you're talking about?
I think one of the things that can be of universal help to just about everyone is to externalize. I feel like things get so much worse when we hold them in our head and we just let them kind of run through this constant avalanche. So that can be different to different people. Like some people, they really need to talk to another human being. Some people though can just write it down. They can just open a page and start writing. I think the moment we start to like get these things out of their head, even if we think we are fine and we can see them very clearly, they just start to lessen a little
Yes,
bit. Like, we
yes,
start to, like they
yes.
just don't feel as terrible
Mm.
once they are externalized in that way. I think that is like, nearly universal thing that can just about help
But
everyone.
I feel like, just to add to that, I do that all the time, as you know. I've done it with you, but I think that one of the problems, I know this with a lot of guys I talk to, they don't have anybody that they feel that they feel comfortable enough that they trust to share any number of issues. I think that's a really hard thing. Is just what you're saying is great if you can do it, but do you have a person or people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't right now. Actually, I almost called you, but, like, I because there's not too many people that I was thinking, "Oh, I can turn to this person or that person," but But I think,
So
that's
glad you didn't call me.
I know, I know. I was just like, "Oh god, how awful would that be?"
No,
He'd
I think it's
never let me live it down.
I actually think when what I responded that way because it's like I think about wanting to fix or wanting to give advice, but what you're saying actually is not that. What you're saying is I talk out loud about the things with a person who I trust.
Yes. I don't think it's about necessarily finding someone who can give you advice. I think it's
Right.
about finding somebody who's willing to listen.
Right.